Welcome to Josh's Green Garage. Today it is time to take this thing for a little stroll and just kind of show you guys what it can do, or at least what I hope it can do. Before we get started, I just want to give a quick reminder that I now have a Facebook page for the channel, so if you like this channel, please go ahead, check out the Facebook page, maybe like that. I'll be posting sneak peeks of whatever I do on there. Just any random things that I get into. I also have links on there to my eBay page, so please feel free, check that out. So I got here in my 758. I just recently did my last grass cutting of the year, unfortunately. So won't be doing any of that for a while now. But I did get to put up my ag tires back on in preparation for winter time. I use them for the snow. Got my weights all on it. I put the 3-point back on, and I use my ripper as just a some weight for the rear end. The tool itself is 108 pounds without any additional weights on it. The way you see it sitting here, it's 360 pounds. So this weighs about 40 pounds more than a 647 tiller. So quite a bit of weight. The goal, of course, is to have these 3 tines dig all the way into the ground. So they should dig into about here. I could lower them quite a bit more, and these would go quite a bit deeper. I think altogether they would give you like 10, I think it's 10 3/4 inch deep cut, depending what ground you're in. I'm not sure how it'll do in gravel, we'll see. But yeah, so I'm just gonna take out into the driveway. I don't have any actual like job or anything I'm doing with it. This is gonna be me just intentionally destroying my driveway a little bit just to see how this works, because I'm curious, and anybody that sees the build is probably curious how it works. So yeah, I'm gonna go get set up out there, and then we'll get going. I also want to point out that I have my finished inner rear wheel weights on there. You can see the one on that side. The other side's a little tougher to see, but they fit on really nicely. They look cool. Both of them together gives me an additional 50 pounds. Alright, so essentially what I'm gonna do, this area right through here is where the most driving happens. So that's probably the most compact area of the whole driveway. Where the trailer's sitting, everything's probably still fairly loose because there's not a whole lot of traffic there other than the winter time when the trailer's not sitting there. But the spot through here, like I said, that's consistently getting compacted and everything, so that's going to be the best test for my ripper. So this gravel is crushed gravel, and it has all the fines in it, so it should be fairly hard. But I still feel like I'm probably going to be able to dig right through it, no problem. That's a lot of weight on those 3 little tines, so we'll get into it. Here we go. Alrighty, so that was really short-lived, and turns out in this area, I ended up box blading the ground back to somewhat smooth, and I don't really like it. So I need to just do a better job. So I decided I'm gonna give you guys a little bit more to watch. I'm gonna just rip up the whole driveway and then take the box blade and level the whole thing. And this is what I got. Looks pretty good. I did a wood pallet drag, and it did a really good job at kind of smoothing everything out, better than I could do really with the box blade. This driveway, it's about 100 feet, but it's still not really all that long. So box blade is a little bit big for it, but the drag definitely did pretty good smoothing everything out. And then I just went over some of the ridges with a stone rake, knocked everything down, made it look nice. Now I'll drive my truck over it and you know, pack it down. All right, so hopefully that little bit of extra there with the ripper and then the box blade, hopefully that was nice for you to see if you're interested in that kind of thing. I did decide that after I did my initial ripping of the driveway there, just to show it that it didn't look very good. It definitely ruined that part of the driveway, and the other part wasn't quite the same. So I was like, you know what, I'll just get some more footage, I'll just rip the whole thing and then box blade the whole thing and, you know, make it look nice. And I'm a bit more happy with it now. I still do wish I had like a land plane. I feel like that would definitely help kind of level everything out. A box blade isn't the greatest at leveling. It's more so for, you know, pulling material to fill. And I mean, to an extent, I mean, you can definitely smooth things out, but you're not going to get everything level and uniform like you would with, you know, a land plane. Or at least I can't, but I don't have as much experience as, you know, an actual landscaping company or something like that. So there definitely is a skill difference there. But I did use a wood pallet drag, kind of like a poor man's land plane, and that helped smooth everything out, but still not the same as an actual heavy land plane. But enough about that. So one thing that I never like doing in my videos is scripting them. I try to just do everything on the fly. That way there's not any, I don't know, random like already like set things to say, whatever. But I tried doing this portion of the video multiple times and I couldn't get it right. So I actually wrote just a couple points here on a card that I'm going to read off of just to kind of keep my mind straight, because I couldn't figure this out before. I don't know why. But so overall, how did the 758 handle my ripper and how did the ripper work? I gotta say I'm impressed. It did exactly what I wanted to do. The extra weight on it was awesome. However, there are some caveats to that. I have here the question of what was bad and what was good. So some of the bad things, first one is the ripper being too deep. So I don't know if you can tell, but when I first started out, I set the thing all the way down just to see if it would actually go all the way into the ground like I had planned it to. And it did, which was awesome. And it was able to pull it depending on the ground that it was in. But it also pretty much stopped the tractor at points too, which I don't know if you could see in any of the videos or not. I can't remember. This has been like a few days in progress now, so I can't remember all of it. But it dug way down and it put enough drag on the tractor to stop it pretty much, to the point to where it was getting the wheels to spin. And you gotta figure, you know, that's like I said earlier on, I think at a max 10 3/4 inch into the ground. So it's trying to displace, you know, all the gravel on top of all of that. You know, that's quite a bit, and it's not like a moldboard plow or something where, you know, you're kind of cutting through it and just lifting it out of the way. You're just trying to, it's just displacing everything on top. And that's also hard packed gravel, not dirt. I don't have any video of it, but I did try that ripper, just a single shank in some like grass area where it's just dirt underneath, and it went right through it like butter, like no problem at all. And I know on the 580 with that ripper, I was able to use it in grass and it ripped through just grass and dirt, no problem at all. So if you're using this like, you know, field or whatever like that, you're gonna have no problem whatsoever. But gravel's a bit of a different story for it. So having it too deep, and it got to the point to where the frame was even like kind of dragging across from where the gravel was getting kind of popped up. It was then getting plowed across with the frame. So it went deeper, honestly, than I had expected it to. And I gotta say, I'm happy with that, but I eventually ended up having to use the depth stop on the 3-point hitch to just get it to like a comfortable point to where it wouldn't go any further, and it was able to just pull it through, you know, pretty much all the gravel I came to. The next thing that was bad that I noticed was it needs more front weight. So I noticed this more with the box blade when I was, you know, really having that blade filled up. That's a lot of gravel. That implement, I want to say, is like 250 pounds or more. Might even be into the threes. I can't remember. I'd have to look it up. I'll probably put it in the video. But the blade itself is heavy, and then the amount of gravel you can get in that is also a lot of extra weight. And between the rear weight on the tractor and then all the way to that gravel and everything, it kind of, you know, makes the front of the tractor want to lift some. So even though I had 4 weights on there, plus, you know, the weight of the engine, frame, and everything, it still was light, and I could tell if I tried making any kind of turn that it was pretty light on the steering. And then I noticed the front, even going straight, the front wheel drive, it was just kind of driving, but not necessarily digging in all the way, even though it has ag tires. So, you know, I think that weight bar that you can put, I think it's 9 weights on, that would be very beneficial. I don't have that many weights though, nor do I want to buy that many more weights. I guess for the box blade, I have enough, I could fill that weight bar, but if I was trying to use the ripper and that weight bar on the front, it'd be too many, and like I said, I don't want to buy that many more weights right now. But some extra front weight definitely would be nice. And then the other thing that was bad, I have here that you have to have the engine at a high RPM. So I kind of hate it that you have to be, you know, wide open throttle and then basically like pedal to the floor in order to get through some of that. Now, I don't know if that's just, you know, telling me that, hey, the ground's too hard, you need to like ease off a bit. But I honestly feel like those 3 shanks, I shouldn't really have any problem getting them through some ground. But even when they're not dug all the way into the ground, I felt like there was times where I was having to use more throttle and have the pedal pushed down further than I really should have. The thing I like about like my 210, you know, the gear drive tractor is like, you know, you can have the throttle like maybe, yeah, wide open, but you can also put it in first gear and have a slow speed. So you're still gonna have all that engine power, but you can at least go slower. The thing that I don't like about these newer tractors with, you know, the hydraulic drive and everything is, you know, in order to get the full amount of power, you have to be at wide open throttle. And then, you know, to really send that full amount of power, you gotta have the pedal all the way down. So you can't go slow. And I think that might be a misconception that some people don't quite understand, is that, you know, the engine isn't really what's making all the power. The engine is just powering a hydraulic pump. And, you know, that hydraulic pump, you know, goes through some other modules and eventually gets to driving the gearing to, you know, drive the wheels. So it's not like you're going directly through a transmission or something to where you can have different gears that you're selecting to help, you know, change the amount of power. It's literally, you know, how much fluid pressure are you pumping. So I kind of wish that would be different, but I mean, it's kind of nature of the beast. I think a lot of the subcompacts and stuff like that are gonna be like that. Granted, you might have high and low range on some of the bigger ones, but for stuff like this, unfortunately, you just can't be going slow and have a ton of power when you're trying to drag something through the ground. Does that make sense? I don't feel like I explained that well enough, so I'm gonna try to do it better. So with the gear drive tractor, it's nice because we'll just say we have throttle at 100%. Okay, we're wide open throttle. However, in a gear drive, so you're never going to get 100% of the engine power to the transaxle. It just doesn't happen. But in a gear drive, 100% of the throttle that actually makes it to the transaxle, you're gonna get 100% of that input in every gear. So you can be in first gear going very slow. You know, if it's the 210, it's like less than a mile per hour. You can be going very slow, or you can be in fourth gear going very fast. And either way, you're getting the same input power. Now with something like a hydrostatic tractor, you can be at wide open throttle, and the amount of input into the transaxle, you're only going to be getting that amount of input power with the pedal all the way to the ground. So you're going to be going your fastest speed, and on that, that's like 8 miles per hour, a little more. I've clocked it at more. But if you're wanting to go slow, you're not going to be getting that same power. You're only getting, a fraction of the power. It's like you might as well just, be pedal to the floor with the throttle all the way down or something. Like, you just don't get the same power out of it, if that makes sense. Hopefully I explained that better. I'm sure there's more to it, because there again, these are different. You're driving a hydraulic pump. That hydraulic pump drives a charge pump. That drives the gear. That drives the differential. So it's a little bit different. The thing is, I guess you're still making the hydraulic power. The hydraulic power just isn't being translated the same. I don't know. Again, I feel like it's kind of a bad explanation, but hopefully that helps a little bit. Hopefully I'm not 100% wrong. But there's a difference between the two, and I kind of hate that you can't go slow and have a ton of power. That's what it is, though. Okay, so if I explain that wrong, let me talk about an example of what happened out there. So I could be with the 758, wide open throttle, pedal to the floor, the wheels would spin. If I was wide open throttle and the pedal was only like a quarter, half, 3/4 of the way depressed, they would not spin. Whereas if it's the 210, no matter which gear, no matter the throttle, likely, those wheels are going to spin. So the thing is, with the gear drive, you're getting all that power that's going to the transaxle. All that power is going to the wheels, no matter the gear. With a hydrostat, you're only getting the amount of power. Like wide open throttle, you're going to be getting pressure through that pump, no matter what. It's going to be building the same amount of pressure. However, when you're depressing that pedal, that's varying the amount of that pressure is actually allowed to travel through the system and get to the differential to drive the wheels. You're not getting the same torque output if you don't have the pedal all the way down. So pretty much you're going as fast as the thing can go to get the maximum amount of power to the wheels. So hopefully that makes sense. I wish I knew more of the names of the parts so that way I could kind of like explain how the whole system works. Like, I know how it works, I'm just not the best at explaining it. There are other people out there on YouTube though that can explain it. There definitely is information on how the K90 series axles work. But yeah, hopefully that makes sense. So now we're going to move on to what was good. Heavy implements. So, I was able to add a ton of extra weight to that ripper that I wasn't before with the 580. So that was nice. And then also the Frontier box blade that I have, excuse me, Frontier box blade I have, definitely heavier than the sleeve hitch box blade, the Brindley one that I had on my 580. So being able to actually have a box blade with some weight to it was nice. And with that, the lift capacity of the 758, so it's nice being able to actually easily lift that weight too. It didn't at all seem like it was overweighted for the hitch or for the hydraulic system, whereas the 580, you lift a couple times and then that thing just did not want to lift those implements anymore. And that was just the box blade with like 1 40-pound weight on it, which wasn't really a whole heck of a lot, but it didn't like it. So it's nice. This pretty much one of the reasons that I moved up from the 580 was because of that, they claim it's ground engaging, but it was having such a hard time lifting the implements. It's one of the biggest reasons I moved up. and you know, it's definitely filled that role. Another was the tractor wasn't thrown around quite so much. So one thing I noticed with the 580 is it just felt like it was getting thrown all over the place when I was dragging that ripper. You know, the 580 was a fairly heavy machine, but not like this. This thing just weighs so much more. You can put so much more on the tires. You can see in the video, you know, the ripper will be like bouncing, moving around a little bit. The box blade may have been. But for the most part, the tractor wasn't thrown around like before. It was, I mean, a still fairly comfortable ride, you know, while using that. I mean, you could tell it was moving around some. I mean, it's gonna. But that extra weight definitely helped, and I think just felt a lot more solid doing that work. And the last thing I have that was good was the four-wheel drive. Four-wheel drive was a big help, I feel like. I was even able to turn with the box blade, which I don't think you normally do, and then I was able to even turn with my ripper, which I could not do that with the 580 at all, and that was a lot smaller tools. So the four-wheel drive definitely helped, and I think, you know, if I had extra front weight, that would help even more. And I think that's why I said about it being bad is the fact that this is four-wheel drive. It needs more front weight to keep that weight on the tires so that they can actually dig in. When I did manage to stop it, I was also normally in some pretty soft ground too. Like it had already been ripped and I was going over it again, you know, with the blade or whatever. So that was a lot. And then I just had some other info I wanted to give out here. Just one thing, the box blade. So one thing I see a lot on some different Facebook pages, forums, you know, anything like that, people ask the question of, you know, which box blade should I get? Which size? You know, which one does people have? What's good? So I think a lot of people like the idea that you can put 3-point implements on these, and they think, all right, cool, I want to get, you know, this big one. Why not? Like it can lift it. It only weighs, you know, a little more than whatever this smaller one that everyone gets. Well, I gotta say, I don't think it's the best idea to buy anything bigger than, you know, a Frontier 2048L or whatever. If you want to get one a little heavier, that's probably fine, but I wouldn't go any wider. I feel like the 48-inch is just a good size overall. I mean, it's wide, it'll cover the track of the tractor, but it's, you know, I was able to get it to where I was able to just spin all 4 wheels. So anything any bigger, I feel like you're just gonna run into that a lot more. Like, I'm sure I've said it before, you know, earth weighs a lot, ground weighs a lot, gravel, everything. There's a lot of weight. And when you're going and filling up, you know, what would be the next size up? Probably a 60-inch, something like that, or a 54-inch, something like that. There's going to be a lot more material there, and I think you're going to have a lot harder time. And you're going to get to the point to where it's just no fun doing any of the work because, you know, you're just sitting there spinning wheels. So especially if you're getting one of these that's a 2-wheel drive, you know, a 750, you know, a 54, a 30, or a 34, you know, whatever. That especially is going to be even, you know, harder to drag around. So, you know, think about that kind of stuff when you're looking for a box blade or anything ground engaging like that. You know, a land plane, that's kind of a different story. But a box blade where you're like actually dragging a ton of material, I think a 48-inch is really all the better you want to go. I thought after I got it and seeing that other people were sometimes using bigger stuff, I was like, crap, maybe I should have got a bigger one. But then doing this stuff that I was just doing, I was like, you know what, I think I made the right choice, because if I would have gone bigger, I probably wouldn't have been happy. Plus, it would have been that much harder to hook up. I don't have an iMatch or any of those quick hitches, so it takes me a minute, and it's kind of a pain to, you know, get that thing hooked up. So a bigger one just would have been that much harder. But yeah, that's what I got. Overall, I had a pretty good time doing it. It sucked that I had my driveway nice and I had to ruin it, but I wanted to get this video for you guys. So hopefully if you're wanting to see how it works, you now know. So I'll end it there. Sorry if this ran a little bit long. I always talk a lot. But yeah, other than that, any questions or anything, let me know. But thanks for watching. Have a good one.